So I want to start by diving into the smart saving solution. Because as I said, it's really important that you prepare for financial freedom to get you there as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And the smart savings solution is a 5-step process. And the first step within that is kind of the secrets to the box. Our industry is really good at telling you need to save, but they're really bad at telling you the rationale behind it. The ways to do it that will get you to financial freedom as quickly as possible. So that's what the R of Smart Saving Solution stands for. It's the rationale. Now, I haven't got time to go into every key financial principle within the Wealth Workshop, but I think there are 2 key principles that are really important that you understand. Because if you understand these, you'll get to financial freedom that much more quickly. And the first one of those is called compound growth. Now, with compound growth, you may have heard of it before. It's really, what I'm talking about by compound growth is the growth on the growth on the growth. So each year, if you get an amount of growth, your fund grows bigger and it continues to grow bigger and bigger. And people always associate compound growth with time. So let's just look at an example because it makes life a little bit easier. So if we took a 40-year-old that was saving £100 per month until age 65, it means they saved a total of £30,000 over that period. Now, if we assume they were getting 6% growth each year, then that would mean that they end up with a fund of £69,000. And that's because that's more than 6% added on to 30,000 because you've had the growth on the growth on the growth. Now, if this 40-year-old had a 20-year-old daughter that decided also at the same time she was going to start funding her some savings as well. Now, she was going to actually save £56 a month because by coincidence, over that same period of time, she will also have saved £30,000. So by 65, they've both saved £30,000. The only difference is that she's been saving for longer. So what's her fund worth if his is worth £69,000 at 65? Hers is worth £151,000. And that's because of the compound growth. It's the growth on the growth on the growth. It's a 218% increase just because she started early. So the sooner you start to save for your financial future, the more effective it will be. But you may be saying, Charlie, that's great, that's really helpful, but I can't go back to being 20 and start saving then. Yes, I appreciate that. But the second factor that often gets forgotten with compound growth is the rate at which your money is growing is vitally important. So let's go back to our 20-year-old that was saving £56 a month, getting 6% growth and ended up with a fund of £151,000. If she hadn't got 6% growth, but instead had got 5% growth, she'd have only had £112,000. 1% a year didn't sound very much, did it? But by getting 1% less a year, she gave up a significant chunk of money. What if instead of getting 6% growth, she'd managed to get 8% growth though? Sounds like a lot, and we'll come on to whether that's realistic later on and how you might achieve that. But the same amount of money over the same period of time, but instead getting 8% growth, she ends up with £280,000 at 65, as opposed to £112,000 if she'd only got 5%. Now, through the course of the Wealth Workshop, I'm going to be giving you some ideas as to how you can get an extra 0.5% growth here, or save 0.5% in charges there, or save 0.5% in tax here. And each one on its own may not seem that significant. But the reason why it's so important to start with compound growth is because if you understand for each of these little areas, if you can buy 0.5% here and 0.5% here, it will have a massive impact to your long-term financial future. And it will mean that you get to retirement that much more quickly, or you can spend that much more in retirement. And it always reminds me of a game of golf that I play with my best man. Now, my best man, Chris, lives in Singapore, so he's not over very often, but when he is over, we quite often like to go and play some golf. Now, Chris is an investment banker, so in a truly stereotypical way, that means he's fairly irresponsible with money, whereas I have to manage people's money cautiously, so I'm completely the opposite. So there's the usual banter on the first tee about one of us being more rubbish than the other. And Chris says to me this one time, right, come on Charlie, we're going to play for money. I said, oh Chris, do we have to? You know, isn't there enough stress in golf without playing for money as well? Come on Charlie, no, we're going to play for money. I said, right, okay Chris, we'll play for 10p a hole just to keep you happy. 10p a hole? You run a successful financial planning business. I tell you what, we'll start at 10p a hole, but after each hole we'll double it. Okay Chris, how bad can that be? We'll do that. So first hole, we're playing for 10p. And I think I lost that hole, but hey, it's only 10p. And like he says, I run a successful financial planning business. I'm sure I can cope with that. Next hole I think I won, and that we were playing for 20p. Next hole I think he won again, so that one was 40p. And by the fifth hole we were playing for £1.60. So we're playing for more than £1 a hole. I'm starting to shake over the putts a little bit. Well, as this progressed, we got to the 10th tee and we realised we were playing for £51 a hole. Now I said, Chris, I've had enough of this. This has gone completely crazy. We're stopping this now. But had we carried on, by the 18th, we'd have been playing for £13,000 a hole. Now when Chris said to me, we're going to play for 10p a hole and double it each time, it didn't seem that bad. But £13,000 a hole seems like a very bad idea to me. And why am I telling you this story? Well, the reason I'm telling you this is because what you've just witnessed is compound growth. It's the growth on the growth on the growth. And if you can get your money working with regards to compound growth, you're going to get to financial freedom that much more quickly. I said there was two key points to the rationale principle that I wanted to cover in the wealth workshop here. And the second one is a thing called pound cost averaging. I don't know if you've heard of pound cost averaging. It's slightly less talked about than compound growth. Pound cost averaging is a really important factor, particularly when you're in this prepare stage, when you're saving for retirement ahead. So I want to give you two examples. Let's play a game. I'm going to do investment A or investment B to pick from. Now we're going to invest £100 a month for 3 months into one of these investments. Now you can pick investment A, where it starts off at £1, goes up nice and steadily to £1.10, and then up nice and steadily again to £1.20. Nice, straightforward, linear growth. £100 a month into each of those levels. Or investment B, this looks like a bit of a rocky road. Starts at £1, drops horribly to 50p, and then recovers back to the pound that it started at. Which would you pick? Well, having asked many audiences, I know that the vast majority of people would obviously pick investment A. It looks sensible, doesn't it? That's what you would want. But let's have a look at the numbers. So both instances we've invested £300, £100 a month for 3 months. And investment A has delivered us some nice steady growth. And that means that investment A has gone from £300 up to £327. Nice growth. But investment B is actually worth £400. How can that be? It doesn't even look like the investment's grown at all, and yet it's worth £400. And that's because when the market crashed horribly, you bought twice as many shares or units, and when it recovered, you got those units doubled. And the reason I think this is such an important factor is because it comes back to when you're saving on a regular basis for your future financial freedom, it's actually important that you get some risk in your portfolio, because what it forces you to do is to buy in at different levels in the market. And actually, when you buy in at those lows in the market, which will happen automatically if you're doing this regularly, then you actually get much better returns over the long term by having a more bumpy ride. Now, clearly you can't take too much risk, because if it goes down to zero, that's it. It can't recover from zero. But ultimately, if you take some risk and you're investing on a regular basis, then actually that will boost the returns you get, and you'll get to financial freedom that much more quickly.